Hey all, this is David Ducker coming back at you. And today I'm going to be talking about main characters in RPGs and player burnout as well. The two just go hand in hand, just like peas and carrots, just like love and marriage, just like hawk and animal. uh, so what this is, it's when one character, one player, is more important than the others, or they get significantly more spotlight time than the others. So they become the main character, just like it says right there on the tin. Now, why this happens is it's usually one of two reasons. It's either the GM is pushing them hard, like the GM's their best friend, or the GM loves their character, and the GM's really pushing them hard and just railroading everyone else onto them, onto their story, which is poor GMing in my opinion. Or it's because the other players are just weak. They're not good. They can't hold up their end. But you have one good player, and he's working really hard to make the game good and keep everyone entertained. In which case he'll become the main character by default. Which, that's one of the problems I have with Wallflowers. So I have seen this happen. It's actually happened in my Legends of the Seven Sands game to some degree, because Josh Powers Pullman, the MVP of the Kitchener RPG scene, was really bringing the thunder, as he always does, doing an excellent job. And when James was there, actually James and Aaron are both pretty strong in very different ways. Neither one of them, I would say, could really push it as a main character, as a real protagonist. They're very much supporting characters. Aaron being somewhat of a comedic supporting character, and James being somewhat more of a dramatic supporting character. Now we had other players come in. So if Josh is the A level, and then we'll say James and Aaron, we'll give them like a B level. And then we had a lot of C level players come in as well. Mike Chartrand, the human rat, he was one of them. Thank you, by the way, James, for giving him that nickname. I find that tremendously amusing. I'm sure Mike doesn't, but I think it's funny. So we had James come in or we have Mike come in, for example, coming in at C level, and he did have a few good scenes. He also had a lot of damage done to the campaign. We had Will came in briefly. We had Keegan come in briefly. Raven, I think, could have risen up to be a B level, but she didn't have enough time to do so. Karina is almost the opposite, where, she was there, she was solid B level, which is great, but she wasn't there very long, so her overall impact on the campaign was pretty low. Who else do we have? We have Paul and Natasha. They came in for a little while. Of course, we had Tyson come in. We had a lot of people come in, but either because their ability was low, like Mike Chartrand, or because they weren't there very long, like Karina. Basically, most of the narrative push, and it was a 2-year-long campaign, just fell on Josh's shoulders, especially after James left. Josh really didn't have anyone else to lean on. So he experienced tremendous player burnout because he was doing so much work and he was being in so many scenes. It's virtually like GMing. I mean, our game was so good that his level of input as a player would be like GMing a bad game, right? Like I'm GMing like way up here, and some GMs are down here. So Josh, as a player, he's doing as much work as a bad GM would if in that game, So he's putting in a tremendous amount of work. I mean, virtually every scene he was in it, because there was so little from the other players. They had so little background, or they had so few goals, so little personality, or just so little time that they'd been there, that everything fell on his shoulders, and it burned him out, just burned him to a crisp, unfortunately. So I did want to do this video because I believe it was Thomas Pattison did a video about main characters and how sometimes one person will rise up above the others. And Thomas was saying there's nothing wrong with that, if I recall correctly, and there isn't. As long as you have that strong supporting cast. Now, I have also seen a game fall apart because we had one strong character, the main character, then a whole bunch of supporting characters, but the strong main character left. This was my Solar Wars game. I think it's like the first video I ever did, where my brother actually left due to time commitments. He just couldn't make it, and without his character, there was no point in continuing the campaign. Even though the supporting cast was strong, there was no one else that could be a main character, sadly. The game really fell apart. So they can cause other problems, but in theory, if you have a main character, you can run that without big problems, except when their supporting cast is weak, and then they'll get burned out. It's as if they're GMing. That's how much work they'd be putting into it. And that's one of the reasons I don't like wallflowers. I like every character to come in and be a main character. So instead of forming, the Batman family where you've got Batman, Robin, Batgirl, and Nightwing, where clearly Batman is the main event. Instead of that, I want to come in with the Justice League where you've got Batman, but you've also got Superman, the Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, where every individual is amazing. And you can take out any one of them and it still works and it's still great. The all-star squadron, that's what I want out of my games. Now, can I enjoy Batman Family? Absolutely. But sometimes it can lead to player burnout, and that's bad. Any kind of burnout is bad. Not only that, but if you're dealing with Justice League, then you're not going to have any GM burnout because everyone's bringing the thunder. If you're dealing with Batman Family, you'll have a little bit more potential for burnout. You should still be okay. But if you're dealing with, something where the supporting cast is really weak, then you could have GM burnout as well because the players aren't feeding you. So these are all problems in my mind brought about by wallflowers, by poor players, and that's why I don't suffer them in my game. I get rid of them. And I might even do a separate video on wallflowers and ways to deal with them, because there are a myriad of ways. But I just want to kind of respond to Thomas's video about main characters, why it happens, and how to avoid it. So the way to avoid it, as I said, make sure the supporting cast is strong, or ideally upgrade them all to main characters so they're all equals. In our current game, Return of the Runefangs, I'd say Ulrich is the main character, but he's not so important that if he quit or if he moved away, that the game would fizzle, because the supporting cast is so strong. Blaine Charrington has his whole gimmick with the Crusade and the Vampire Hunter. Savage has got his schemes, wheels within wheels, going on, and his true aims still remain obscured. We've got Theodore Lyons with his own mysterious past that even he doesn't know about. We've got, up until recently, we had Camilla Velis, and she had her whole quest to get restored to her exiled throne, and her whole supporting cast of the crew of her ship. There's just so much to draw on that no matter what element leaves or gets lost or gets pulled out or doesn't make it that session, we've still got so much that the game's going to be great. And even if Mike's not there, or if Mike shows up and he's exhausted, he had a terrible day at work, his girlfriend is screaming at him, and if he's a wallflower for one night, that's cool, because we've still got Superman and Green Lantern and the Flash, and they're going to bring the thunder. Whereas if in Legends of the Seven Sands, if Josh wasn't showing up, that was going to burn me as a GM. That would burn me to a crisp. I don't even know if I want to go to that session. And that's when I put in railroad mode, right? Because the other players couldn't really handle a sandbox. Sandboxes require stronger players. They do. And you can see my video on Railroad versus Sandbox where I discuss that in more depth. But I think that's just about all I got to say about that. The only other thing, like I said, sometimes because the GM is pushing it on the players and saying, oh, this guy, he's my main man, he's my joint, and the rest of you are supporting cast to him. So the best way to deal with that is just leave. Just be like, yeah, your game sucks, I'm leaving, goodbye. I hope that you all step on your D4s on the way out the door. So that's easy to solve. But when it's kind of happening naturally, you have to really try to build up that supporting cast, really make them all main characters and encourage them all. You can see my video on encouraging players as well for more advice on that. But that's my rambling kind of video response for you, Thomas. So take that as you will, know it how you like. And I'm going to be signing off now. So everybody have a good day. Cheers.